See this British couple? Well, now they're Wisconsin soldiers camping out in the English countryside. And look at this union worker from Michigan. Now he's a rebel officer. Or how about this insurance executive? Here she is in a corset and gloves. She's a battlefield volunteer. When the American Civil War ended in 1865, the North was victorious and the South was in ashes. But for some, it was just a beginning. Today, hundreds of thousands of Civil War reenactors around the world keep this epic conflict alive. This is their story.
Shoulder, march. March.
You lose the 21st century looking out over the line of soldiers coming up the hill, and also in the battle, just the smoke and the confusion that happens.
Why did people choose to recreate the American Civil War? They could relate to the fight against slavery, the Victorian values, the South's struggle to secede, or maybe it's to honor their ancestors, true Civil War fighters.
I do think of my ancestor, and I think what it must have been like for him coming off the battlefield, tired, possibly wounded in some way, what he must have felt, what it must have been like. Is it still worth fighting for this cause? I think that I'm honoring their memory by doing it and trying to do it as accurately as possible and understanding some of the hardships that they must have gone through.
Reenactors take the hobby to different extremes. There's just plain dress up, and there's complete immersion in every detail. This American man portrays a Union soldier from Ireland, accent and all.
I'm a private soldier, the 56th Volunteer Infantry, Pennsylvania Volunteers. And I've been in the army about a year and a half now. Hard times, seen a lot, but I'm myself and all the chaps that I know of are doing the best we can to put the Union back together.
Not all reenactors portray soldiers. Some are politicians, doctors, townspeople. Here's a high school teacher from California representing a northern newspaper man.
We journalists had a somewhat mixed reputation. It depended on who you'd asked as far as what opinion you would get of us. Some of our more unsavory nicknames included parasite, scribbler, spy. See, journalists in the Civil War were unabashed in their political partisanship. In fact, you sold subscriptions by being partisan. Engravings in these newspapers were derived from original sketches that characters like mine would make.
American Civil War reenactments appeal to people all over the world. European enthusiasts meet up in Great Britain, eager to recreate battles such as Shiloh and Antietam. Of course, the international flavor does pose some interesting language challenges.
With the language barrier problem, what we decided to do is to put the French lieutenant so we can communicate with these men, so the orders will be repeated from the commanding officer or the sergeant, whoever's giving the orders, will be repeated in French instantaneously to the men.
Okay, you got moving round to the left. René, c'est bon? Encore, allez.
This may seem like a man's world, but women count too, and not just as pretty things in hoop skirts.
I found that women's roles during the Civil War were very diverse. You had everything from the women who stayed at home and knitted socks in their home and participated in ladies' aid societies, to women who actually disguised themselves as men and went to war as soldiers. But I think the general public is very surprised to hear what women did, to hear that women had such a responsible role in the war, and that they made such a huge dramatic impact. They would work most closely with the hospitals that were set up close to the battle lines. They would have a movable soup kitchen. It was a kettle on wheels. As Union soldiers came off the battle lines from the front, they would be able to get some hot soup, recharge themselves, get refreshed, and hopefully be able to go back into battle. That's the kind of thing that the women of the Sanitary Commission did.
Naturally, every reenactment centers around the battle. That's when fantasy and reality blur. Reenactors lose themselves and the 21st century in the thrill of combat.
The new guys often ask, what's it like to be in combat? We call it seeing the elephant. Your first time, it's a strange experience. And how do you tell it to somebody that's never been there? The ground shakes from the cavalry, artillery pieces firing, flashes, smoke. You look down the barrel, you have to shoot at somebody, he's shooting at you. How do you tell that to a man?
Nearly 150 years after the Civil War ended, reenactors keep it alive. They don't exactly let bygones be bygones. These people visit the past. Are you ready to go with them?